So welcome everyone to our webinar, Scaling Without Limits, How SuiteProjects Pro Powers Professional Services Growth. For today, we're going to be covering challenges of growing services companies and highlighting solutions with NetSuite SuiteProjects Pro, along with expertise from TopStep. So just some quick intros here. Again, my name's Adam Mayo. I'm a vertical product manager with Oracle NetSuite, and I've been working with SuiteProjects Pro, formerly OpenAir, for 15 years. And my role is really supporting our go-to-market efforts, meeting with customers and prospects, and taking all of that feedback and industry experts in the field, and then helping drive our overall product strategy and roadmap, working with the development team to continue to enhance the product. I'll pass over to Ron to do an intro.
Thanks, Adam. Hi, everyone. I'm Ron Bro, owner and CEO of TopStep. TopStep is worldwide known as the SuiteProjects Pro, formerly OpenAir folks. We've been around for 16 years. We started out as partners directly to OpenAir prior to the NetSuite acquisition, and I've been working with the product going on 20 years now. So we're happy to help customers in all of different levels of their SuiteProjects Pro experience, whether it be implementations, re-implementations, health checks, technical integrations, as well as ongoing support. So happy to share some thoughts today on what we've seen from all of our customers and years of experience. I'll turn it over to Jason to say hello.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jason Ketterer, and I serve as the Director of Financial Planning and Analysis at Vital Edge Technologies. We're a global SaaS solution provider that specializes in the heavy equipment industry segment. In my role, I partner very closely with our professional services team to ensure accuracy in their project and time entry data. I focus on delivering real-time metrics, meaningful data, essentially for empowering our business leaders to make very informed data-driven business decisions. Excuse me. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason and Ron. So before we get kind of into some more of the meat of the presentation, really wanted to talk about some of the challenges that certainly we've all seen in our various roles in working with services companies. And really with PSA, professional services automation, we're talking about project-based companies. You know, they're delivering a service in the form of a project in some manner, often billable services directly to their end customer. And as you can imagine, it's common to see disparate systems and spreadsheets being used. There's no kind of formal process necessarily. And what happens is project managers have really no insight into what's happening on their projects from the financial side. And often until it's too late, are they aware that maybe they're approaching budget or invoicing has a problem, because again, they don't have access or updated information. And then conversely, our execs in finance don't necessarily know what's going on with the projects if they don't have visibility, because PMs are kind of managing those in silos. So really, being able to get more standardization, as well as supporting the growth of customers and starting to get into more detailed resource management. Once you start to get into 30, 50, hundreds of resources, you can no longer shout down the hall and ask if someone's available to work on your project. So starting to put processes in place and systems to track skills, to track availability, to be able to have visibility across the entire resource team, perhaps those in other regions or locations as well, to bring them onto your projects. And really kind of looking for a tool to manage the entire project lifecycle, getting project managers, again, away from maybe their siloed spreadsheets and tools and into a standard process that now has visibility across the entire organization. And that's where we bring in NetSuite SuiteProjects Pro. And really that is the lifeblood operations of a services company. It offers project management, so setting up your project schedule, budgeting, managing project issues, of course, into resource management as well. Again, skills tracking, availability, and being able to have that visibility of what resources are working on. time and expense entry to capture the hours, the expenses, and costs on your project. That's going to feed directly into project accounting, where we're doing the billing and invoicing, as well as revenue recognition. So invoicing on a time and materials basis, fixed fee, recognizing revenue on milestone or percent complete, supporting a variety of different contract types. And then, of course, having, again, all the visibility and insight from dashboarding and being able to view project status, profitability, resource utilization, as well as forecasting on your utilization, your billing, your revenue. All of those are key metrics that you'd be looking at in the system. So to talk more about that, I'm going to bring you in here, Ron, and kind of chat about some of your experience as well. And, again, you mentioned the vast experience that you have working with customers in the services industry. So what makes SuiteProjects Pro kind of uniquely positioned for growing organizations?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. All those issues that you mentioned above with the spreadsheets and the silos, those are all way too familiar to us working with our customers. We've been, working with the product for a long time. We've seen all sizes, all complex levels of complexity within different organizations. We've also seen all types of different growth goals within organizations, from organic growth to acquisitions and the like. And the beautiful thing about our ability to help these customers is the one constant is we're able to help all the customers by using SuiteProjects Pro. We're able to adapt it to both the small mom and pop organizations to the global organizations with thousands of users and multiple subsidiaries and very complex processes. And that's really, with the power of the system. It's the flexibility. I get on calls with customers and helping them understand what the system can and can't do. Not a lot it can't do, but the way it can do, there's lots of different ways it can do certain things. And so sometimes I get myself in trouble saying, well, we can do it this way, or we can do it this way. And it's just the honesty is it can be done lots of different ways. And that's important because not every organization behaves the same way. We don't want to force customers to do things that are not normal or natural to them just because this is the way the system does it. So being able to bend the system, have the system adopt our customers' practices, and have us understand what our customer needs, and then us understand how the system can support those, I think has been a real differentiator for the system and for our services over the years. It's been helped with making sure that the implementations are well executed and are ready, because we understand, growth is coming. All organizations are trying to grow. Professional services is a key component of our customers. And so we know that there's going to be growth. We know in today's world, acquisitions are very common, as Jason will attest to shortly. We have to set up a system and have it be ready to adopt those changes downstream.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, a lot of you're saying rings true. And I'm sure there's a lot of balancing that happens as well during those implementations. There's certain processes that we have to do it a certain way. But there's also finding that compromise of, hey, we should be listening to these best practices, your team and you having all that experience across many different customers. There might be things that you can uncover that there's probably a better way to do it or more efficient, and again, finding kind of that balance. But I'm sure you run into being able to extend and have some flexibility with the system as well. What are some of the things that you've seen, challenges that you've been able to meet with that flexibility?
Yeah, I mean, the typical prospect for PSA is your traditional project services, project management organizations, bill T&E, fixed fee, milestone, percent complete revenue. That's kind of the SuiteProjects Pro is made like a glove for those types of organizations. About a year and a half ago, we got introduced to a new type of service organization, which was a CRO, a clinical research organization. And I was intrigued to see if we could help them. And basically, they came to us and said, look, we don't have it. There's not a software out there that is a good fit for the way that we do business. Could you help us? Could your product possibly help us? So we had several meetings, and believe me, it took a while to wrap our head around their processes and how they do things, because it's markedly different than the traditional organizations that we worked with. But ultimately, we came to an understanding of their needs, and we were actually able to add extensions into the system to accommodate them. Well, by the way, they get their data from their Excel spreadsheets into the system, to how they manage that data, to how they bill the information. It's more of a usage billing, which is not traditional professional services versus T&M. So again, having to come up with extensions, customizations to support them. And we were very successful in getting that project live and have done several others since. So it's what typically might be an industry that we don't, that maybe not is on our radar, has turned out to be a niche industry that I think that we've been able to benefit and will continue to work with. So we were very happy with the way that worked out, and we continue to work with those customers, and they're very happy and successful.
Yeah, that's a great story. I love hearing that, and with the expertise from your team being able to extend the platform and meet the needs of those companies. I know the CROs could be specific, pretty niche in some ways, and it's funny. Kind of, I get myself in trouble as well, where it's, well, if you're managing project, we're gonna have some similarities, but they're definitely, depending if you're an IT implementer or a software company implementing products or an advertising agency, some of there's definitely some nuances within each of those that they may be doing things differently, and being able to cater to that is huge.
Yeah.
With that though, I know there's other extensibility that you've done. Are there any solutions that you've crafted that are more broadly kind of applicable across all different types of industries that are managing projects?
Yeah, absolutely. In meeting with our customers, one common request has come up, and more recently than in the past, it's how would our client interact with the data, with our project team and the data within our projects? We want our client to be able to see real-time project metrics. We want them to be able to participate in the project plan. We want them to be able to participate in an interactive RAID log. And the answer was always, it's offline, it's out of the system, you're going to need to go buy a third-party tool. Now the answer is, we can absolutely help you. TopStep developed a software solution that sits on top of SuiteProjects Pro, connects via APIs, and provides a portal for customers to log in and to be able to interact with the project team. There's messaging, there's interactive RAID logs, there's Gantt views, there's ability for the client to be assigned project tasks and be able to complete those, as well as self-service status reports. We've built AI into it, so if a customer has a question why the project is off, why is it yellow versus green, they can just ask the AI and get an answer of what's going on. Self metrics, they can get in, see metrics. So we're really excited. This is a fairly new endeavor for us. We've introduced it at SuiteWorld last year, and we've been working with customers over the last few months, refining it. And we really feel like this is a game changer for SuiteProjects Pro, and not only adding customer collaboration as an option, but just the extensibility of this product and being able to solve for something that wasn't part of the product. We're looking forward to solving other, potential opportunities to solve other options that, may help overall and make the product more successful and more efficient.
Yeah, no, it's huge. We get asked about it all the time, and I can echo the feedback so far has been great. Just being able to collaborate with internal teams, and then of course making sure that we can communicate to the external customer. So love
Absolutely.
that. So I'm going to, I guess, take my virtual interviewer hat, and I'm going to pass over to you, Ron. And I know you're going to chat with Jason here a little bit too about his experience with SuiteProjects Pro.
Yeah, Jason, we've been talking a lot about growth and flexibility. We'd love for you guys to tell us your story.
Sure. Thanks, Ron. And Adam, let me give you a little background on our initial implementation and our growth journey. So before implementing SuiteProjects Pro, our professional services team relied really heavily on an internally built, basic, archaic time tracking tool that just was extremely limited. It would record time in a matter of days and not hours or intervals of hours. And it really didn't integrate into our NetSuite instance, nor did it have any project related data capturing. Our accounting team used to have to manually review each timesheet that was submitted just to generate 75 customer invoices twice a month. And our quoting efforts were for our projects with customers as we were implementing software for them was really limited and based on our sales team's best estimates. We really didn't have we had very minimal level of effort for project implementation data. So we really needed a solution that provide us with accurate productivity metrics, timely billing, precise billing, time tracking, resource management, just really consistent project management methodologies. As a service organization ourselves with software, SaaS software, all of our PMs tended to manage their projects in different spreadsheets, different like Microsoft Project, and really just did it different ways all across the board. So I needed something that would consolidate all of that to a simplified platform. Our initial implementation took roughly 6 months. And honestly, we faced quite a few internal challenges. As I said, we are a SaaS-based software company ourselves, and a lot of our implementation time was really spent working with our own teams to review, make a lot of changes to our processes, which really helped us gain a lot of efficiencies and normalization. And also being that we're private equity owned business, as Ron mentioned, their focus is really on growth, whether it be organic or acquisition. So without saying, we did an acquisition within the first year and a half of being acquired ourselves by private equity. And that acquisition was literally an equal sized company to ourselves. So we were probably midway through our implementation when that all started to unfold. And I had the conversation with Ron on help. How do we implement this instance, this customer or entity into our own instance without having to have two separate views of open or SuiteProjects Pro now, used to be Open Air when we went live. And really, Ron, his team were really, really beneficial for us. They really helped us to realize that let's get through the first project, get it implemented while still thinking about what are going to be the impacts of our decisions on that new instance that our new entity that we're going to implement in. So then we went live probably, as I said, it's about 6 months. And then within 3 months, our other instance or other entity was live on SuiteProjects Pro right after that. It was pretty simple to get them live once we completed our initial Vital Edge launch. Let me talk about a few of our challenges that we faced during this merger. First, we were just two extremely different entities with different project approaches, different customer sizes, different project durations. Their projects would last 4 months. Ours could go from a year to 2, maybe 3. Our customer billing was much different. We bill through our own internal accounting team. They have a separate third-party processor. Rev rec rules, which are really key. We look at installation date. They were looking at live dates because most of their efforts are fixed fee efforts, whereas ours are time and material. And on top of that, just overall project methodologies, skill sets, and resource needs to staff those projects. So I really had to rely on TopStep and NetSuite both to really help us integrate those processes into a single instance of SuiteProjects Pro, which was really beneficial. Not to have two different entities running two different instances. They made it work for us. And it's actually been very seamless for all of my data gathering. So how did they really support us? Let me answer a few items on that. Really, when I approached Ron and his team about integrating that new business into Vital Edge, we spent several weeks just analyzing their structure, their customers, rev recs, processes, and honestly, Ron's team was just excellent in what they do. They were really beneficial. The NetSuite guys stepped in, helped out, and everybody was just very collaborative. They were very patient with us. They constantly giving us best practice approach, and how to implement things, and also how to modify our processes to more of a best in class approach.
So, Jason, I know we spent a lot of long meetings, a lot of long evenings chatting.
Yeah,
And I know the goal of all these projects is to be able to get measurable outputs that are meaningful to the business. Can you talk a little bit about some of the measurable outputs and some of the impact it had on your business?
yeah, absolutely. It's very measurable benefit immediately, honestly. Now we have a very unified, streamlined project process implementation process. Like I said, our invoicing literally went from 8 business days a month to 5 hours a month. And that alone was our ROI right there, right out of the gate. I mean, if I don't have to have accountants spend 8 days and it can take them 5 hours, I mean, that was gold for me. Our confidence level on our billing has just increased dramatically. I've seen just alone a 10% pickup in our monthly billings just from the processes that we've implemented or modified. Utilization, huge metric for professional services organizations. We saw a 3% increase in our utilization within the first 4 months of going live, which generated about $450,000 additional annual revenue for us. Our non-billable time, in our old system, I didn't know what people were working on when they were working on it. Now I can exactly see where every minute of their time is spent. We've been able to increase our productivity for our billable teams by 15%. And honestly, this tool has really been very beneficial. Our execs love it. I can give them real-time reporting. My CFO has a dashboard that he logs in. He can see all the open projects instantly and see where the status of that's at. And then really the resource scheduling, that has just been a lifesaver for our teams.
Yeah,
Some
that's.
advice. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Go
Ron.
ahead. No, I was going to say that's great. That's great. I mean, that alone pays for the system, right?
Yeah, really just the invoicing time we saved paid for our system immediately. That
Yeah.
was so beneficial for us. A few things I would recommend though is teams, customers start thinking about implementing SuiteProjects Pro and using Top Step's expertise. Some of the things I've learned, just be really open to changing your processes. These guys know what they're doing. They've done it for years. As Ron said, he's been involved in the product for 20 years. Our teams thought they knew best, but we knew what we did, how to fit for what we thought was best in class for us. But really, their teams came in and really helped us streamline a lot of processes, made it more efficient. And don't be afraid to automate a lot of your processes. We were pretty hesitant. Being in finance, I like my spreadsheets. I like relying on my spreadsheets. I can see what it's doing in the back end. But a lot of what Ron's team did was help us automate our utilization metrics, our rev rec. Invoicing is just so streamlined now. And just make sure that you've got commitment from multiple resources in your project teams, just to ensure a lot of continuity in the project, and also differing opinions. That was really beneficial to have multiple project managers be involved. We were able to kind of really sit back with our team and get a lot of benefit from that.
Yeah, as always, change management is a critical component of all of these implementations. We're just not jamming a tool in and saying, "Here it is, go use it." Right? We've got to understand the impact of the change. No one likes change. How and getting people involved and bringing more people into the project and getting visibility. It's a very critical component because we can put a great system in place, but if the adoption is no good, what have we exactly achieved? So yeah, I know we talked a lot about that and how do we get more people involved and manage that change management process, and I think we were successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think about that story, Adam?
Love it. I mean, just hearing some of the tangible benefits right off the bat, although a lot of, I'm sure, hard work went into getting to that point. But just improving the user experience, getting the billing process much more automated. And again, there's a lot of downstream benefits to your end customer too, right? Which is ultimately what we're trying to achieve with getting these processes in place. So, love hearing stories like that. So what I think we'll pivot a bit here now and just cover off a little bit. We've been talking about the product that I think it'd be a good idea to show it. So we're gonna move over to the presentation. All right. So everyone should be seeing our SuiteProjects Pro homepage and dashboard, and we've really put a lot of work over the past several releases, and we've mentioned it a couple of times. It was formerly open air. We relaunched it and rebranded it, and have adopted the Oracle Redwood design theme to start to introduce some of the capabilities that you're seeing here. I have reports in the middle portion here, different content where I can look at project information. In this case, I can also toggle over and look at project financials to see the budget, income, invoiced, and also compare the costs. If we wanted to kind of maybe flip that around and say, well, let's take a look at billing. This is showing me my pending and in progress projects. I can interact with this. So maybe I want to turn off the pending and just see what's upcoming, what's guaranteed, and then add that back in within here as well. We have secondary content areas on the right-hand side. So here's an example of a forecasted utilization report based off of what people are scheduled out to by employee, as well as things like forecasted revenue by client. Again, we have the billing and revenue set up on the project so we can forecast that out. I'll go back over to my project hours. We've also added a notification, or a to-do list, I should say, where it has notifications of time that needs to be submitted or approved, expenses that I need to approve, or other daily tasks. So I can access this from anywhere in the application, click on that to do, and it brings me to that area to go in and take action. We have additional capabilities on here. I can open up things like project discussions. So this is a new feature where I can now have conversations amongst team members of key projects. You're just some back and forth, and I can post a new message. So again, having that information right without having to navigate anywhere else. It's right up from my homepage. We've also introduced a global search just to make it easy to find information. So I have my shortcuts of things that I'm frequently accessing, but then I can start to type in the name of a project, customer, employee, expense. In this case, I'm typing in Abby. It finds her employee record, her skill profile, a project where she's listed as the project manager. And again, I can just drill right into that from this global search screen. So really focused on usability, get done what you need to right within here. Now, again, these are also interactive right from the homepage. So in this case, I can see the system implementation needs attention. When I click on it, so we had the initial kickoff, but it looks like we haven't finished the staffing. We need to find a consultant as soon as possible. I see that notification, and then I drill right to the project from that homepage. Now I land here on my project center. I can see that status, the project progress, pull up a status summary if I wanted to kind of see where we're at a glance. This is something that I could also filter down to share with a client if needed. Those project discussions, well, when I click on it now, it's filtered to the project I'm on. So again, I can see that collaboration right from within the project area here. This project center is fully inline editable for building out phases and tasks and doing the scheduling, again, down to the resource level that you're seeing here. We're also able to pull in actuals. So time that was entered in from timesheets is visible right within this view, in addition to the right-hand side where I'm scheduling and booking out future work. So having more insight. We can also toggle on the cost and the projected billing of those, and as well as actual. So in this case, if I pull up the costs. I can see what's that monetary value. If I'm going to use maybe a higher price resource, I can see that in real time, again, without having to go run the report. Flipping that back over to the hours, we did have that notification. We need to find a consultant. I can pull up my search right from the project center. So again, I'm not leaving the screen. I just pull it open here and it shows me available resources. I'm going to, of course, want to filter that down by different skill sets. So in this case, I need a consultant as their primary role. I also, let's say we need to find someone that is knowledgeable in PSA. So I can pull that up on the list here. It filters that list automatically. It shows me their availability for that time frame as well. So again, I'm making a more informed decision. Joan is already at a deficit of hours. So I'm probably not going to use her, but I can also double check, what else is Joanne working on? So again, having that insight, I'm making that informed decision. Looks like she certainly has availability, only a couple other projects she's working on. I'll add her and you can see it automatically updates that resource to Joanne. I'm going to confirm that out and allow the system to notify her that she's working on it. We also have the ability, if I'm going to continue building out or scheduling resources, and this is a spreadsheet look and feel, I can just type in the cell, I can copy paste, I can drag and extend like you're seeing here to make it easy to add or change staffing directly within that project. And then when I'm ready, I can save and commit any of those changes that we have here. So we went in, we did our staffing. I'm going to now update my my status. So again, I can just easily, right from that project, click on the icon, give it a title. I can change the status. So it's going to then reflect that back on our project. So we're going to say we're on track, publish that out. But again, I have that history too, so we can see when we went in and made those changes. So jumping back over to my homepage, I can see that the project is back on track. So again, drill into those details and view that information. So that's a quick tour, just kind of an example of pulling in the homepage and screen that you're seeing here, all the reporting capabilities, and this is just kind of scratching the surface to the scheduling. And then we certainly didn't go into all the other capabilities when it gets into project accounting. Again, setting up your budget, entering time, expenses, doing the billing, much of what Jason was mentioning before, where they're getting value out of the system. So that's all can be handled and reported on within here. So with that, I think we are going to open it up to the Q&A here. Pulling that up here. I don't, Ron, if you had a chance to take a look at.
Yeah, we've got a few questions. We've got a few questions. Looks like a lot of these are for Jason. So first question is, how many employees use SuiteProjects Pro at VitalEdge?
We have roughly 200 employees using Open SuiteProjects Pro. We've got project managers, time entry resources, consultants. A couple of our executives use it. Then all of our services leadership team use it as well.
Yep. Another question. Did you have to create a lot of customizations, or was SuiteProjects Pro out of the box for VitalEdge?
Ooh.
I can answer that question if you'd like me to.
Sure.
It was out of the box.
The backside of it.
It was out of the box, 100% out of the box. We typically, with every, I show my experience and age. There used to only be an option to do out of the box, and then Adam and his team allowed the scripting center and all the customization capabilities. And now it seems like there isn't a project where we don't come across some opportunity to improve the user experience by doing some sort of customization or an integration with a third party. Jason, I went and looked in your system because I couldn't remember exactly. We didn't do one customization for VitalEdge, and that's pretty amazing for the fact that we put VitalEdge in, we did your acquisition in, they're all working together, kumbaya, and it's all standard out of the box functionality.
Yeah, it works pretty seamlessly. We've enjoyed it.
Another question for you, Jason, is the questions around, what's the requirement from a system admin and experience needed to manage the product on an ongoing basis?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Well, honestly, I'm the system admin, being from finance, so that should tell you something right there. It's very simple to manage. On a monthly basis, I'm looking at new hires, adding in, new resources, setting them up. That can take, gosh, just a few moments. We've got a automated feed from our NetSuite instance where we have our resources. They just automatically get set up in SuiteProjects Pro, and then I just go assign the role to them, and that's it. Turn them loose.
You do have some help from Top Step, right?
We did, absolutely. You guys set up all of our automations. Our billing feeds are automated now with an
Yeah, but
approval process.
you have
But
ongoing
otherwise,
though. Don't you have our on-demand resource
we
support too?
do. We do. That was one thing that I wanted to make sure we had was the on-demand services from Top Step. We've got about 15 hours a month, where any questions we have, any reports, if I get stuck, I can just reach out to the team, and I usually have a response guaranteed within 15 to 30 minutes every time. I've not had to wait for very long at all.
That's awesome to
The
hear.
team there has been very, very helpful on that aspect.
There's a question around, Adam, I'll throw this one to you. What is the schedule for adding new functionality to SuiteProjects Pro?
Yeah, so we have two major releases per year. So we just had our release one for 2025 in April, and then we have another one scheduled in October. And so there's training that gets released that customers can attend, and there's a release notes that they can review. If there's any significant change, generally there isn't, but there'll be also features that are kind of in the off option. There's a release preview environment for customers to try things out, as well as if they have a sandbox environment, they can certainly do that as well. So yeah, two major releases, and then there's kind of a trial or a release preview period before that, where they can start to kind of dig into those new features once they come out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Christmas for Top Step,
Yeah.
twice a year. We have another question. The question is, if we only use bookings now, how can we move toward building out project plans using tasks to gain better project management data? I think I'll take this one if that's okay. Yeah, this is something we work with a lot of clients on, is transitioning their level of maturity on project management and how they're interacting with the resources. So certainly, we've done this before with customers. Please reach out to us. We'd be happy to have a conversation and take a look at what you're doing today, and if there's help we can provide, we'd be certainly happy to provide that. Another question, maybe this one's for you, Adam, as well. What sort of APIs are available for connecting other systems? Any examples you could talk about?
Yeah, so we have a fully published API, SOAP XML, as well as REST that's getting access to several other records within SuiteProjects Pro. There's also, APIs aside as well, there's also an integration manager tool. So for some things that might be better served for a quicker CSV import, that's also available. But again, we have the REST API and documentation for integrating to front-end CRM. We also have many of our customers that are also using NetSuite for their ERP. That leverages the API, but that's actually an out-of-the-box connector that's fully baked out. That's more of a configuration to sync both SuiteProjects Pro with NetSuite. So several options there.
Yeah, and I'll say, Top Step, we spend a lot of time working with customers to connect SuiteProjects Pro to other systems. HR systems is a great example where they want to have time off pushed in to block schedules, that sort of thing. So we've worked with a lot of customers that might have a different CRM or a different financial system. Another question, at what level of detail is project carried out in SPP? How specific are the tasks? And for what size clients or projects is SPP normally used? Let me take a quick stab at this, Adam, and then maybe you can add on color. It's really, we've seen customers that have one task, billable or non-billable, to customers that have hundreds of tasks. As I mentioned earlier in our CRO example, where we were able to extend the product to support CROs, the way that they set up their project structure is they have hundreds to even thousands of tasks. So really, there's not a limitation as to the level of detail you can go within the tasks. What I tell customers is think about your user experience and how specific do you need to get, and also think about the time entry experience, right? Like what level of time entry are you looking to ask your users to get to? Because we've seen in the past where the project plan is too specific, too detailed, maybe the time enterers are just grabbing the first task they have versus being more specific. So it's kind of a balance of what do you need to manage the project, and then what do your users need to be able to put their time in, and that's typically what we see.
Yeah, I'd echo that. You kind of stole most of my points. I mean, I think less is more, but of course you need to manage, components. And like you mentioned, it kind of thinking about it down to what do we really want to capture for time and potentially billing, profitability, to, getting to a very specific daily task maybe isn't always the best fit here. It's kind of where do we need to have that reporting level up to, for capturing those hours is what we try to start from.
Yeah. Speaking of profitability, question, does SuiteProjects Pro have the ability to import payroll information for profitability? You want to take that one, Adam?
Sure. There's some possibilities with doing that. We have our own labor costing engine, which is generally what we would lead with for that. It provides some flexibility, and there's different cost rates that you can have. But one of the things that we often see is there is some, not to be secretive about it, but we may not want to have people's salaries kind of spread over the projects. We're trying to give more visibility to general costing and things, so we can use things like blended rates, so that we're kind of masking maybe by the type of resource what that cost is, rather than showing the raw payroll amounts. So there is some possibilities of importing it, but generally we would lead with our labor costing buckets that are used for profitability reporting.
Yeah, we actually had a meeting with a customer recently where they did want to do regular updates, more so not annual updates, what we typically see, but more even monthly updates. And a lot of times it's people getting promoted, right? If they get promoted, mid-year from one level to a senior level. So there is the ability to upload that data. We've even talked about integrating with the payroll system to bring that data in if it's available. So certainly there's lots of options there. Question, how can we manage forecast hours in SuiteProjects Pro for project resources? Yeah, this is around the resources schedules. It could be based on the bookings, right? The resource schedules, or you could use it based on the project plan and the task assignments. OpenAir takes those future hours and then looks at the billing rules, and it combines the two to generate a forecast of both hours as well as dollars in the project. And those are visible, throughout the system, from the resource module for hours, as well as the project center for both hours and dollars. Anything to add there, Adam?
Yeah, you nailed it. I guess the piece that I showed in the brief demo was our project center, and you can actually now manage that project schedule through bookings. So having a single staffing record. So for those that may want to kind of get more granular with the bookings and just have one way of staffing, that's what you'd go there to kind of manage that. And as Ron mentioned, it's going to then take those hours and apply cost and billing value for additional forecasting if needed.
So that's the end of our questions. You want to wrap us up?
Yes, absolutely. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to Jason for a great customer story, and Ron for your insights as well. So definitely for any follow-up, please visit TopStep. llc.com to have some more findings. I know you have some recordings and other content posted out there, Ron, that's very helpful. I know we send customers your way quite often because of that. So again, please follow up there, and any additional questions, I'm sure we can get you in touch with folks that can get you additional demos and get you into the product. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Adam, and thank you, Jason.
Absolutely.
Everyone take care.